Hello, hope everything's going well. It's Tyler Bryden here. Happy New Year. I'm a little late saying that. I know Larry David never liked anyone saying Happy New Year. I think after January 7th is the cutoff date. I'm recording this January 18th, 2025. Can't believe it's 2025. I'm here. I feel like I'm sitting in the dark a little bit, but I'm not. I got a new light over in the left-hand corner. You can see a little bit of reflection going on there. I've almost got a plant showing up. It didn't quite make the cut, and I got a little light showing on me here. So hope everything's going well. This is my first video that I'm recording in 2025. Took a while off. I think a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to go through this video here today, including like the TikTok ban. I'm back recording in horizontal here right now after experimenting and basically recording like vertical only, which has been interesting experiment. Lots is a subjective number, but some views on some of those videos, but also some interesting observations after really putting some time into vertical, into shorts, into TikTok, seeing some spikes in view, but maybe not the same in terms of subscribers or definitely monetization on YouTube. So I expect to record this video and not a lot of people will watch this video. That's how it's going. I've accepted that fate for now, but I'll chop this up into some clips, drip those out, and still trying to figure out, I think, a little bit best how to do that horizontal to vertical flow. I've got a new split screen view that I've got right now that I'm working on. So if I was just to pop that up for a second so you can see what that looks like. Wow, great way to start on my Twitter feed. Adam Schiff, Lily Phillips. I've seen enough of this lady, I think, online with the backdoor challenge. That was not on my topics here for today. So I'll reverse and I'll be a little more careful with what I'm pulling up on the Twitter feed. But what's going on, I guess, the year has started. Optimism, I think, going into the year. A different movement or sort of moment in time, I would say, where we have at a cornerstone of the world. We've got old Trump coming in here. That's Monday. Apparently it was too cold. They're moving it all inside minus 20 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for you freaks out there, but too cold for the people. So I feel like Trump probably is pretty sad about that. I am laughing a little bit about a couple things. One, which is all this talk about Doge and efficiency and the amount of money that's probably being spent on this inauguration. You see all these millionaires coming in and dropping $1 million donation to it. Lots of heat on that. And speaking of that, if you hadn't checked this out, let's see if I can pull this up on the screen here quickly. I don't know what I was doing. I'm an idiot. You know that about me if you've watched any of the videos. I recorded this little video here called the Mar-a-Lago King. You can hear it on the background here. I'll pull this screen up and basically talked about
we forgot the whole thing. Now
all the people going down to Mar-a-Lago, giving the money there. I put a lot of work in that video, 17 views for the amount of work. So I took a step back and said, okay, well, if I'm going to do this much work on a video, I feel like I would like to see a little bit better performance than that. I'm still not sure exactly what that looks like, and that's my own fault. But I did put this on Spotify, and I did see it bump a little bit on the verticals. But if you are interested in that, funny, check it out. Basically about all the people going down to Mar-a-Lago. Generated the beat with Suno. I wrote the lyrics myself, rapped it out, recorded it, and then I used some AI Grok to pull these images together. And what's interesting about Grok is just you can really bring the likeness of people into images, where if you're trying with a different platform, you're not seeing that possibility. It'll basically block you. There's supposed to be David Sachs there. I'm not sure what else is going on in the background, but you got Mar-a-Lago King, and that was a lot of fun to record. Put that out a month ago. Again, only 17 views on this YouTube video, but the shorts, there was some stuff going on there. So back to my, well, I guess you're back to my face here now. What do we got going on? First of all, it was Christmas time. I want to shout out just a couple quick gifts here. You can see if I go to my split screen, I bought this 6 times. I probably bought it a couple too many times, but this Gove floor lamp, super sweet. I got this in the basement downstairs. I got it in my office right here. I can modify the lights if I wanted to make this all flashy. I could go ahead. I could turn on the lights. Let's see if I can do that just so we see some reaction in the back. It might be a little too intense, but really nice. Fun to play with. Gove is a great line. I've had them for a long time. I'm not getting paid to promote this, although I could say, hey, well, it's got really dark in here now. Let's check this. Let's see if I got another one. Pop, 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 pop. Hop, hop, hop. So basically, if I'm talking, you can see a little bit of reaction there in the background. So let's keep that on for a little bit. It's fun. Maybe it distracts you and keeps you engaged in this as you hear me drone on about all this stuff that I'm constantly talking about. So I recommend this. Now I did get, oh shit, there's a $60 coupon still. So you can drop that price pretty nice and basically build the bar. You point it to the wall because you cannot look at this thing. You cannot look at this thing straight on. It will just blind you. But then again, tons of interactivity. You can customize it yourself. Great mobile application where you can command all of this. And I'm not getting paid to promote this, although I guess I could put an Amazon link in here and make some money if you're ever to buy this from watching this video, which is doubtful. But I just really love this product and I just want to shout this out. It was a great gift. Second, I got the Aura carver. You can see this was purchased 3 times. I think my wife bought it 1 time too. Basically a digital frame. And what I really liked about this digital frame was that you could basically create a sync. So it's a nice application, super intuitive. And then I can add, for example, my mom, my sister to the frame. And so now they can, my sister has a baby, she new video, cute video, whatever happens there. She can take that video, shoot it into our frame, and then we can see that. So it's a really nice way to share images across the family. I'm really happy. Like both of these, I can see my family using. I like getting nice gifts for people. And sometimes I haven't always been able to afford to. And these were a little, I guess, the family's tried to stop getting gifts for people, but I don't know. I really like these things. And so I got them and I love seeing the family use them. I just thought if you're looking for gifts for people, I know Christmas is over, but Valentine's Day is coming up. This one is really great. I got this for my wife as well. She absolutely loves it. And we look at it all the time. It's sitting there in our main room. And we see pictures pop up, all these great memories. And then we see these new ones roll in, which is great. So product number 2, I swear I'm done. This section, number 3. I think this one's just super valuable. Apparently they've got a New Year deal. Now, apparently the CEO of Mint was an amazing company where you could track all your expenses. Got shut down. I still don't know exactly what happened here. And there was no real replacement that took place. And so my wife and I were doing our year-end analysis on finances. And I was exporting from TD Bank and then doing some data visualization in Looker Studio. And it was just like, there must be a better way than this. This is obviously something that we want to have figured out as a family. There must be a better automated way. And so I did a little bit of research. There's another couple applications that are doing this. There's one called Copilot. There's one, You Need a Budget, which is a little bit more heavy-handed. I ended up on Money just because I loved Mint. And we synced all our accounts into the platform. It's got some great reports. Automatically classifies the transactions. I love that it shows where your net worth is. You can set up goals. A transaction comes out, I can tie that transaction to the mortgage and see that mortgage amount come down. And overall, good classification. You can set up those rules, those conditions. And my wife and I have now basically completely this into our life. And I've just found huge benefit to it. You don't need to log into it every day or anything, but log in once a week, make sure everything's classifying properly. It changes, it improves very quickly. And I think has been a great benefit to us, definitely allowed us to get a bit of a handle on things. Like I can look at my last year and see a perfect classification of every dollar spent, what exact category it went to. And then there's also a budget, a forecast, and you have a lot of flexibility and control and high level view into where you are at and where you're going. So in that case, again, not getting promoted by them. I just think it's a great product, one that I was glad to stumble on at the start of 2025 and have been really happy. I took that 50% off discount. And I think for the amount of money that flows through a couple and how important this is to your quality of life, this was a great purchase for us. So that's the end of my product recommendations. Hope you enjoyed some of those. Let's shift back to me. You can see the light bumping in the back there. Let's see if what do we got? A different setting here. Ooh. Luminous. Okay, I thought I liked one more. This one doesn't seem very reactive though. So spring, woo, nope. Splash, a little lighter on, there you go. Okay, cool. All right, let's just stay with that for now. All right, so where are we going next? Think what is super interesting. Let's bring this up here. Let's go global before we drill down into maybe Canada. So this was a video. Let's play this up. But basically Rogan Zuckerberg. We saw apparently Jensen Huang on an interview, similar vein, but basically AI that can write at the quality of an engineer. We're already seeing this in benchmarks through GPT, definitely through Anthropic's Sonnet model, like at the quality of code that this is writing. But I think this is a pretty clear public moment where Zuckerberg, the head of a company who, again, is, I don't know exactly what he's doing, rehabilitating his image, all this great stuff that he's doing right now, but is trying to be, I think, slightly transparent in his trajectory. And I think he wouldn't be saying this if he didn't have at least some belief it is true. So basically talking about AI that can be as effective as a mid-level engineer and can write code. And let's listen to this clip here for a second.
Probably in 2025, we at Meta, as well as the other companies that are basically working on this, are going to have an AI that can effectively be a mid-level engineer that you have at your company that can write code. And once you have that, then in the beginning it'll be really expensive to run, then you can get it to be more efficient, and then over time we'll get to the point where a lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers. Probably in 2025.
So that's a clip. And it started, I think, quite a bit of conversation online here. You can see lots of commentary, or at least resharing of this clip. And there are people taking both sides about, again, I think the speed, how quickly this is happening, which I have definitely at least seen somewhat in my experience. And then even basically my own experience of being almost like a crappy front-end dev that couldn't quite grasp JavaScript even, to being able to work with Anthropic or ChatGPT, combining that with a Google Collab notebook or even a Google Sheet app script, and really accomplishing some incredible things. And I think there's now versions of this that are going much farther than that. And I think one of the gaps here has been like, can you get something into production? Or the backside of this was like, hey, can you get something live and operating on a real infrastructure, say like AWS, from like a code prototype that you have generated? And I think that was a really difficult thing to do. But something like Replit, which was a company before this, I don't know enough about them to give you the whole breakdown on it. But what I can tell you is that they've really embraced this AI, almost agentic flow that is coming here right now. And with the infrastructure that they had, allow you to basically put apps into production from a prompt, like very quickly. And you can even see, again, a couple sort of testimonials here. So like this, I would say, is probably the prime example of where we're seeing this get put into place, at least from like maybe a more consumer or solopreneur or just like larger audience seeing like what can AI do. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on the back end here. We've heard from Google, who talked about how much code that they've been producing through AI. Amazon, who did, I believe, a migration from a legacy system where they needed to update that system and cut down that time massively using AI. And I think that there's a lot of fear right now that is most likely, in my mind, justified. I already think there is like, and part of it is people like, I think, just don't want to do the work anymore. So for example, why would you write one article that takes you 12 hours when you can use AI to do it fast? And of course we know there's quality trade-offs and all of this stuff, but basically with the right architecture and even say programmatic content creation, you are getting to a decent level of quality that would take like dozens or hundreds of people to write, and you can do that in minutes, seconds. And so even as a content creator or writer, specifically B2B writing to try to generate leads and content that attracts people, you're competing against that. And so it creates this huge challenge by default that I think a lot of people are nervously conflicting with. And that's just like one side, that's content production. And generally this model or this idea of content production has been generate high value content around high-level queries or information that a prospective customer might search for. This is pioneered by HubSpot inbound marketing. And then overall become that touch point, that brand that they trust. And so when that purchase decision is ready, you're already a familiar face providing high-quality content, and then you can convert and become a customer to that business. And that's been a huge part of an industry and an economy starting in North America, but then a lot of needs for translation was required, and then a lot of pointing towards, I would say, the remote nomad culture where people could do this type of work in a digitally remote way. And so then other countries got brought into this. And so it's a worldwide economy that I think is really, in a way, under attack from AI that can do almost already as good of job. And even, for example, what I'm seeing is a lot of companies, this idea of quick experimentation, A/B testing. If you can generate, say, 1,000 ads and test those to see which ones are working best using AI, that's much better, much more efficient, much more cheap than trying to do one at a time as a person. You can never hit the efficiency and the speed. And that's what even historically a lot of these companies have been able to do, which is like do experiments much more quickly, get more data out there, get more data in, and then move quickly to optimize over time. And so to me, it's not just that the AI is there, it's that there's a lot of incentives, and it's also that there's you're basically competing against it. And so just like there's this chips race with NVIDIA and all these companies, there's also this race that's taking place in the economies of AI where AI is touching upon if you're an engineer and you're competing against and you're writing all the code yourself versus a cursor-enabled engineer, a cursor, which is like a co-pilot for engineers that works with Anthropic's Sonnet that has really gained a ton of adoption, is now writing a lot of code. And from the engineers I've talked to is doing an incredible job. But you're competing against a 10 times, maybe even 100 times engineer. And so you're forced to participate. And I think there is a value proposition in some ways where people will say, well, the real human touch, maybe we see this in qualitative research already, where like me manually reviewing and really interpreting and extracting and spending that time is some of the value proposition, that human-led touch. There's a subset of sectors and parts of the economy where that is a meaningful value proposition. In a lot of cases, I'm not sure how big that economy is or how big that segment is. And I think what's going to have to happen is a lot of people are going to need to adapt and adjust to very quick moving AI that is deploying, self-building, self-designing, self-optimizing, self-creating to try to find these pockets where your abilities are still valuable and still worth being paid. And I would say, even for example, like the company Speak that we work on, like the amount of money that people would pay for, say, a custom, I'll just use one example, like a custom sentiment model not that long ago is huge. Whereas now that's not really required because you can use an LLM and you can fine tune that LLM and you can customize the context for the engine and the output and how you want it. And you can run that again very quickly. We've seen that commoditization of this type of technology very, very quickly. And so where, say, 5 years ago, people were willing to pay $50,000 to $100,000, maybe even more for that. Now people are looking at, hey, how can I accomplish this for literally $20 a month? And we've had to make changes to our business model. We've had to make changes to our pricing, to our value proposition, all because of this, because the technology is moving so quickly. And if code can be, for example, generated by AI, it's also very easy to, again, produce a working version. Now, in most cases, or a lot of cases, I don't think that quick generation is matching what refined platform with real work and effort and expertise put on. I think that's a hard thing. And I think a lot of companies are still in this build or buy mindset where building is not still the best option. And again, that percentage that building is not the right option might continue to decrease. But I do think, again, it's, if you're doing a more complex application, and for us, it's like audio data, transcribe, and then pull out all these things. You've got so many multi-layer touch points in all of this that even the dependencies that are required or the maintenance or all of these things can really add up to that not being something that maybe a core competency in the business and maybe creates a challenge for you to maintain. And so we've already seen that even in Speak with a small percentage of demand that we capture, that a lot of teams have tried it and it hasn't worked. Or just an example, we have this little embeddable recorder function where I can create this little link and I have this embeddable recorder that I can create and I can share that out. And even that, like what we're working with a company here right now, just on, if I'm just to continue and close off this example, just so it makes sense to you, Yeah, let's see if I can pull this up. Just with this example alone, the amount of infrastructure required to, again, this looks simple here, but you would need to maintain iOS compatibility. What browsers does it work for? Android, iOS, you've got laptops, you've got desktops. And so very quickly, even just something like capturing a recording can be a pretty complex mechanism that you need to manage and has a lot of problems. And so maybe a simple AI production that might feel clean and clear might become a lot more complex. And so again, this build or buy mentality can be difficult. Now, if I was just to go back again on the bigger picture is where AI is coming for a percentage of jobs. That's very scary. And I think there's a lot of people questioning about even, okay, by the end of 2025, by 26, 27, all this agentic behavior, all this self-writing, self-creating code. There's apparently people murmuring at OpenAI about completing the next level towards AGI. Then things could change very quickly. To me, there's a risk of, I guess, I would say radical deflationary. I don't know if radical deflationary is the right way to put it, but radical like deflation of maybe incomes from high quality or from high income people. And I think that's a really terrifying thing. And there's been a lot of years where you say you're a dev in Silicon Valley, you're a machine learning engineer, you're making 400, 500, 700K. And yeah, it's expensive to live there, but you're still making a lot of money. And now there's been a ratcheting up of base cost expenses and even childcare and all these things there. If all of a sudden the market changes really quickly and you can only get a job for 100,000 or 200,000 and you've been making 700,000 and people are saying, whoa, woe is me, as life is so hard. But that's still, there's a percentage of the population who are now accustomed to that lifestyle. Maybe they've got a mortgage because of that. They've got all these things. And the rapid shift can be super destabilizing on a very, I think, state by state or province by province or country or even global level. And I think that's something that we're both some of us are like anticipating, but then also not anticipating very well at the same time. So I'm doing a lot of thinking about this. I think it's also in a way putting me into a state of paralysis, and I'm questioning sometimes like if what I'm doing even worth it. I think that's a scary place to be. And also at the same time trying to figure out, hey, if this is true, okay, timeline is one part, but how do I pivot my expertise or pivot my network or pivot people's perception of me to be still value creating so that I don't have personally the experience of like rapid income deflation? Because most people, I think that they say, okay, I'm going to make 150 this year and then I'm going to go up to 160 and then 170 and keep going up. But if that's not true, and we know that inflation is going to continue, possibly even acceleration of inflation in some places, then there's a huge out of touch loop that is taking place there. And so I'm thinking about that a lot. I'm sure there are other people. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on this. It's just like something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And I think we have some insight into what's coming, but we also don't have full clarity. And again, a lot of conflicting reports, systems like this Devon platform that are doing code for engineers, again, apparently has lots of problems in it. We know that there's the idea of hallucinations or generating code that seems like it's good, and then you put it into production or put it into the app script or whatever it is, and it doesn't work, and you have to go back and forth 50 times to get it right. And so are we there yet? Are we not there yet? How quick does this loop close? And I think there's a really interesting discussion on the podcast with Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley talking about like closed loop systems where, say, you have a GitHub commit or something like that, and you can see if it works without error. These type of closed loop systems can rapidly improve, maybe similar to what we've seen with Tesla's full self-driving and the rapid improvement of that. And we can see that even in charts there, how quickly self-driving miles on the Tesla are there. And now you can see a couple charts of this moving, and I've seen even a more recent chart, but again, basically the level of disengagement is continuing up, and so that's that closed loop system, which is really, really, I think, fascinating. So AI coming for us. How quickly? What way? How can you find value proposition? I think there's this idea of, you should have been tradesmen and working physically. I think in some cases that might have a longer lifetime, but at the same time, now there's all the talk about 2025. Okay, yeah, it's the year of agents, but it's also the year of robotics. And so more and more robotics are coming into play. I think this is something that I'm keeping my eye on. Got all these different robots that are very cheap and now capable of doing some pretty interesting things. And so, again, this is in China and all this stuff, but the proof of concept is there, and this stuff is going to move pretty damn quickly, probably more quickly than we think. And that's been my experience over the last few years, is this is all moving pretty damn quickly, and more than even some of the technologists and techno-optimists might even think. So, okay. Whew, that's a lot we went through on the AI piece. I got a little bit of energy. I still got a little bit of juice left in me here. So let's talk Canadian politics, and then we'll end with U.S. politics. Again, no one's watching this, so no one really cares. I'm going to go into Canada. So we know, okay, Justin Trudeau stepped down, blah, blah, blah. Who fucking cares? Everyone's glad to get this guy out of him. I'm just laughing because it's a clip of Rogan talking about how much he hates Trudeau. And so people are sharing that clip. But there was another clip during the Protect Our Parks session, I think, where they were trying to pull up a picture of trying to pull up a video of Trudeau, and just I don't even want to look at it. So just this feeling of disgust, and I'm not taking my whole measure of that from Joe Rogan. I don't think that's, but as a Canadian living in GTA who's followed this, who has been a progressive, who has voted for Justin Trudeau, and I'm almost scared to say that, but at the time, again, it was, I guess, a sheep in wolf's clothing, and it makes people, I think that's part of what the disgust is so much. I was also quite young and excited that he was legalizing marijuana, and such bullshit in retrospect that you just don't understand. But now we got Trudeau resigning. We've got this race now for the next Liberal Prime Minister. And who do we got entering this race? So let's start on the first man here. We got old Mark Carney. And I think so far his campaign has been, at least from the perception of what I'm seeing online, and again, that doesn't mean in person, and I think, first of all, there's a lot of concerns about who is this person. And that's even a question I'm thinking of maybe digging deeper into this on a video. Like, who is Mark Carney? A lot of people associating him with a WEF puppet, a World Economic Forum puppet. Other people showing him with Ghislaine's, Maxwell here, and her connection to Epstein, being an elite, and all these concerns about who this guy is, who's hanging out in the elite. People are then now saying Mark Carney versus Pierre. Let's see, credentials, if I can find this image here. Twitter has become a really strong search engine. I've seen a more advanced version of this where basically they compare Pierre versus Carney here. And so there's definitely some, from a surface level, this Mark Carney can be, I think, viewed as like a polished character. He's obviously intelligent. I don't understand exactly his full, I guess, intentions here. Spending a lot of time in UK and other parts of the world, a big proponent of this carbon tax, about net zero, which has been pretty disastrous, I think, for Canada. A lot of people have now pushed back on this. He's already got in trouble with a logo that apparently was copyrighted, and you can see there are some memes about this. He's refused entry of journalists who apparently were invited into it. Conflicting evidence that this limo pulled up. Apparently, people were saying this limo was pulled up to make him look bad. I'm not sure about that, about redistributing the wealth. And again, this idea that this is another slick talker, similar to when Trudeau came in and was handsome and, charismatic, that tricked Canadians. And my hope is, again, I'm going to investigate this guy because I don't fully, this was the logo got him in trouble. I don't truly understand him yet. But there's definitely, I think, concern that this is more of the same. And so then that brings us to I will say, he got the nod from Bloomberg, which is interesting too. So that's just one other note I'm tracking myself of trying to understand that. So then this brings us to Chrystia Freeland. And if you've ever seen this lady, oh my God, she's just an absolute nightmare. talking about joining the fight, going against Trump, being very combative and aggressive, which I haven't seen. This is new, so I haven't watched this video yet. But I don't, anyone who can trust this lady after what we've seen her do in these last 9 years. She was the one who recently just famously stepped down right before the economic budget, where they blew by like $20 billion plus dollars. Just an absolute disaster. She's on videos tweaking all the time, just shaking like this. Like, I just can't. As much as disgust as I feel, and many people feel for Trudeau, I think there's the same disgust for her. And so I think she's going to have a difficult time. And what's interesting, from what I understand, her kid godfather is Mark Carney. So this is all just incestuous liberal relationships here, basically. And she's talked about the vibe session, just a weird person. They have that branding of a weird that stuck with, that I guess Tim Walz stuck. Obviously that didn't pan out very well, but I just feel weird about this person, and I just don't trust her. And I really hope that Canadians can see through this, because apparently there was a lot of people who like Chrystia Freeland. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going on. And there's a chart here showing Carney narrowly leading here, but there was another one where it was showing who has approval for this, and it's basically none of the options. So we're in a situation, I think, there in the Liberal Party in Canada, where at least previously polls were showing that they're going to get absolutely decimated in this election. I do think, say, Carney comes in, I think that decimation could be dampened a little bit, but I think that the trajectory is changing towards a conservative win, most likely a conservative majority. And you can see a poll right here with that conservative leadership. Again, I'm not sure all the source of this, but we're seeing relative consistency in this here. So, goddamn, don't even want to look at you. Let's take this I'll take a step back. So that's a little update on Canada here right now. I think two other quick topics. Maybe they're not quick there, but they're meaningful topics to jump onto here. One, which is obviously this Trump inauguration. I'm recording this Saturday, the 18th. The inauguration is on the Monday, on the 20th here. So it's a big moment, definitely, for the world to see this guy back in power. Apparently, this Trump coin launch is up more than 10,000%. Like, people put in $800, they're a millionaire here now. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Lots of debate and hate, and apparently Carrie Underwood's in trouble for singing the national anthem and then switching inside and all this stuff. But at least from what I'm seeing, or what my understanding here is that he's coming in. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of high-profile people there, and that there's people that also are not attending AOC, Michelle Obama, people like this. And apparently, the executive orders are going to move very quickly. And again, as someone who's listened to a lot of Bloomberg here all day, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. The known knowns are the tariffs and the immigration, but the actual unknowns about that are how this is going to roll out, the timing of it all these questions that I think are worthwhile questions and concerns for people. And obviously there's this idea that markets like predictability, people like predictability, and there's a lot of unpredictability in the market right now. So the S&P absolutely ripped in this last couple days after a pretty big drop, just as Trump is coming to inauguration, basically seeming like a soft inflation print, which people were very concerned about, but still a lot of hype right now, still a lot of thoughts around deregulation, and a lot of excitement about possible business growth in the US with Trump coming into the office. The banks have done really well. They had some of the earnings calls there. And so we'll see if this honeymoon period lasts and this excitement comes to fruition and turns into growth, especially with, again, risks of tariffs and all these different things. But it's definitely a very interesting time as we head into this inauguration period and see this historical moment where Trump comes back into power, and we know that he's only got 4 more years. And what's he going to do with these 4 years? So lastly, I think I should talk about this quickly. I might as well, right? TikTok ban. Supreme Court held it up And so apparently as of the 19th is set to be banned, and apparently some pretty massive fines if companies don't honor that ban. From my understanding, it will be live on our phones and will be just legacy or sunsetted and eventually may stop working if there's no updates and things like that. So I'm not exactly sure how this plays out. I know there's a lot of people who aren't very happy. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't really consume, but I've been posting on it. I like the views of it. Trump apparently likes that. I think he more likes the donor money that's come his way for it. But this is where a lot of questions I think are, and this is a smart guy, interesting follow on Twitter, playing out what he thinks about with TikTok being such a huge creator economy that has given so much people success, and also that algorithm that really allowed you to excel very quickly if you made good content. And so Greg Eisenberg's playing out a scenario. You could think this is realistic or not, but obviously there's a lot of interest and attention in this platform that has just had so much usage and driven so much viral fame and moments and trends. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. And again, TikTok not live in China, so like, it's like the crazy thing here is like China's so mad about this, but like they don't let kids in China use this system. Obviously this idea of like brain rot to me is true and legitimate. I feel it myself. I feel like my brain is rotting from many things, but TikTok is definitely not contributing to this. And I am sick of just girls dancing on videos and this weird thing that's emerging. And I know that's not limited to TikTok. If you look on certain Twitter posts, then it's like all the girls then pointing to their OnlyFans. And so everything's pointing back to this. But like, I don't know. And then there's the other more dangerous side where a trend emerges and it's like hit someone over the head with a can and then everyone else goes and runs around and does it. Like, there's a lot of chaos that has come from this application. And so I think in my own anarchic way that even though I have some interest in it, I think it would be funny for it to be shut down. I don't think we've seen something as large scale of that. I'm really interested in the consequences of it. And like, just also like, what do these people do? Because it was such an explosive source of growth for creators. Again, I think there were some challenges with monetization there, but many people monetized it in different ways or use that as a channel for their overall business growth. And so I think there are some sad consequences to TikTok possibly going down as well too. And so I think a lot of things to consider here. I got Trump with his presidential shot. He went dark Trump on this. It's business time here. Who, again, it looks like he is going to grant an extension from the ban as this gets figured out. And again, you can see some of the memes now. And again, a lot of money given to Trump. So he was one of the original people who spearheaded this ban and talked about his attack versus China. And so like, I don't know, what are we seeing here even with Trump and his commitments to going against China versus money and donations coming to his side and his own will? Like, I don't know why he's not upholding this ban, basically. And maybe it's even just part of the population is going to be mad, and maybe he has the chance to be a hero if he comes and saves this. I do think divestiture from the Chinese government is probably a valuable thing, but it doesn't seem like they are willing to do that. And man, what a battle this has been. You can see Gen Z upset about TikTok ban for 4.3 seconds was the maximum amount of time they can focus on something thanks to TikTok. And as I'm jumping around in this conversation, and maybe you tuned in for a second here and you're gone, I think we can all understand that experience. So I'll shut up about TikTok. We'll see where it goes. Does this 90-day extension? What happens in this time? Yada, yada, blah, 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 but we'll see how this plays out. Okay. Let's close this out, or at least get close to it. I just want to make one recommendation, entertainment-wise. Day of the Jackal. Love this show. I'll give the original credit. I think Bobby Lee, Andrew Santino were maybe talking about it. Thriller. I love any movie where there's a sniper, basically. Eddie Redmayne did an incredible job in this show. I think 10 episodes. There will be another season. Got Monica and I, and we binged through this pretty quickly. And I can't say that about a lot of show. We just watched the first episode of Severance. It was a lot to catch up on. I forgot what happened in this season one. It had been so long. It was a little disorienting there, but still a fascinating show. I've already talked about Arcane in a previous instance, so I don't need to dive back into that. You can check in previous videos, but maybe a couple things for you to consider. And we also, if you like him, Bill Maher, he was back last night, and always an interesting character, and is now gearing up for 4 years of Trump after a lot of messages against him, and had some good comments last night about how he's always supported him, obviously joking and stuff there. So just, you can't record a video nowadays without saying something about the LA fires. They talked about it on Bill Maher. They talked about it all, and super sad situation there. And I honestly, I had wanted to go visit that area for so long. I wanted to take the Pacific Coast Highway, drive through Malibu, drive through the Palisades, and just so sad to know that I wanted to do it in September, and to know that these people have had, this decimation of this place, and I just wish I had been able to see it, because I don't think it's ever going to be the same, and I feel a lot of sadness, and I don't know, I just know how much a house means to people, how much that I worked for years to try to get a house here, and how much time has been put into it, but also memories. For so many people, that's their part of their economic freedom that they have. And so it's obviously a super painful thing to see. And obviously there's lots of talk about mismanagement and all this. I'm not going to get into that. I'm so sorry for anyone who's going through that. And I hope to see this rebuild come back, and people can be happy with that, or that they do have at least choices available to them, and they can make something work and find happiness after obviously a very traumatic experience that I think many of us watched online through TikTok and our Instagram stories from friends who live there, and Twitter and all this stuff, but who don't really have the true feeling of what took place there and how decimating and devastating it was. So otherwise, I've been recording almost an hour here. I appreciate anyone who could stand to be with me for an hour as I ravished and I ranted and I pranced and I danced and So thank you very much for checking this out. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. I hope I'm back trying to build up again that motivation for recording, continuing, trying to figure this out. I got some announcements later this year that I'm excited about, and I appreciate anyone who cares and follows along. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Look forward to reconnecting soon. Bye-bye.